watch Pinups, Cool Cats, and Comics on Facebook and follow them on Instagram.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another week of Pinups, Cool Cats, and Comics. Unfortunately, Teresa could not be with us tonight due to a last-minute emergency at home, so we got my buddy Billy Mira over here helping me out.
Oh, boy. Actually, I'm Teresa, just shape-shifting.
Yes,
Right
well, I didn't want to let the secret out that quickly.
Okay.
But, and it's perfect that Billy's here because not only are we friends, he's also a fellow Islander fan.
Yes, I am.
And we will be interviewing Trevor Gillies on the phone later. So there was no one better really to have than someone who knows the sport and who's got experience.
Yeah,
you've done a couple of things in radio.
A little bit. Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about yourself first before we get started, or
well,
just we'll get more into stuff later.
Why don't you tell the fans, what you know about me?
Well, I know he's done a little.
Putting him on the spot.
A little local show. I don't know if any of you've heard of it, called Howard Stern. He was on that. Plus, you had your own shows.
Yeah, I did. I had my own show on Fox. It's called the MMA Fight Corner, which actually started right here on Long Island. Very similar to this. That's why I'm always very supportive, and I love all the local shows. And when I see somebody developing a show, it's really interesting to me. So
And you gave me a start back then, so
yeah.
Really, because that's why I'm here today.
Yeah, we started in a garage. We went from Sirius to a garage to Fox out in Las Vegas. So
not a bad move.
Not a bad move.
And you've done some other things. You've been in a bunch of bands, including Whiskey Road, and most recently Billy Mira and the Hitman.
Billy Mira and the Hitman, which is kind of popular here on Long Island.
Yeah, it's
in
very
New York,
popular. Excellent
which is doing
band.
well. And I also have a residency at the Polo Lounge in Westbury Manor, which I will talk about as well, which is great. It's me and a piano player, and we have some people that we brought with us from Westbury Manor. And it's kind of like, I go there and we play music, with a piano, and I crack jokes, and it's a lot of fun.
All right. So just quick recap to last week. We had the Sandwich Bros on. They review different local sandwich places all over Long Island.
Right.
Easy for me to say.
So that's
so
the whole
pretty
show.
Cool.
They talk about food.
Yeah, they go eat and talk about food. It's pretty cool.
I want to do that show too.
Yeah. So basically, I don't want to get too sidetracked. I want to get Trevor to call in right away and get it to that. But so we'll just go into the sponsorship real quick. Sounds like he's calling in already. So we'll just go through the sponsorship, then we'll put Trevor through. So Kayla Logistics. It's my cousin Frank Zambuto. I think you guys may have met. But anyway, Kayla Logistics, where your business is our priority. Moving products that you could use every day across the country and around the world. Contact Frank Zambuto for all of your domestic and international logistic projects. Frank has over 20 years experience working with many name brand companies in the apparel, cosmetics, as seen on TV, and electronic industries. For trucking, air, and ocean cargo on all 7 continents, all you need is one solution. To all Cool Cat listeners, just mention our show, and Frank will offer a free cost and transit time analysis for all your cargo. When cost and time matter, we deliver. Frank Zambuto and Kayla Logistics, where your business is our priority. And you can reach Frank direct at 347-536-3933. Okay, we got Trevor on the line?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Hey, Trevor, how's it going?
Good, man. Good.
So a little change of plans. Unfortunately, my co-host Teresa couldn't make it tonight, so I got my friend Billy here, who's also a big fan.
How you doing, Trev?
Right on. Hey, Billy. Hey, Billy. What's up, man?
What's up, brother?
So just a brief prelude before we start. So anyone who doesn't know who Trevor is, there was a time when the Islanders were the thing on Long Island. The early 80s, there was nobody better.
There was nothing like it on Long Island.
Then, unfortunately, they went through some rough times. They had a little spurt again in 93 where they made a little run for the Cup. But then there was a lot of embarrassing moments for the Islanders. They sold to owners who had no money. They had the lowest payroll in the NHL at the time. Bad ownership, bad management.
Their attendance was terrible.
Attendance was horrendous. I mean, there were times I could sit there and start counting the people in there, and it was really that bad. So now that they're the joke of the league, they were trying very hard not to be that anymore. So they started drafting players. Some questionable moves at times, like when they got DiPietro and stuff like that. But they were really trying to put together a Stanley Cup team. But the problem was they were still getting their ass kicked. They had no toughness on the team. They were just getting beat up laughed at by other people. So in comes some enforcers like Trevor, and things started turning around for them. Now they weren't a joke anymore. Now they were getting taken very seriously. And unfortunately, in my opinion, because it was the Islanders, some of the guys got a little over penalized, in my opinion. That I don't think if they were on a number one team they would have. But Trevor, you were definitely one of those guys. So you want to talk about your history, how you got in?
Are we on air?
Yes, we are.
Well, to be honest, man, I was just banging it out in the minors. I got called up when I was around 25. I had a bunch of fights. I don't know the exact amount. I've had almost 400 in my career, close to 400. So, I was in the minors in Bridgeport and loving it there. I lived with my family on the beach in Milford, Connecticut, and my good buddy Joel Reckless was kind of your up and down guy. They just would call him up for games and never really keep him up for any time period. We're very, very good friends. He's like my little bro. We're like best buddies. And Rick DiPietro, who's a really good buddy of mine, he got sent down for conditioning on his hip or his knee or something like that. And Rick, I got to stick up for Rick, man. A lot of people give him shit because of the contract that he received. But at the time when he got his contract, I mean, he was a young stud, made the All-Star game. And I can tell you from personal experience, out of all my years playing, I like to think I'm one of the hardest working guys on the team or in the room and on every team. And I tell you what, Rick DiPietro is an absolute workhorse. The guy just crushes it in the gym. He wants to win. And, unfortunately his body kind of failed him a little bit. But we're still good friends. We still talk once in a while. But he got sent down to Bridgeport, and I had a really bad concussion. I hit my bare head on the ice fighting Paul Bissonnette in Albany, playing for Carolina Hurricanes AHL team in Albany, New York. And then, I was told that I should probably never play again and all this. And I pretty much told the lady, I was like, it's going to take a little time, but I'm going to heal. And I promise you, I'm going to train harder than ever. I'm going to fight more than ever. And my plan is to play in the NHL. So, I appreciate your professional opinion, but there's thousands of other professionals in your position that will clear me, and it'll take a little time. And so I got better around, end of May, June. Didn't get an NHL contract. Been on one forever on a two-way. I wasn't in the NHL, but I was on a two-way NHL contract. That means you have an NHL side and an AHL side. And went to Rochester, tried out, and they kind of had me by the stone. So, and I have a family, so you can't, if you sign a PTO, that means you're stuck in a hotel. Just say you have a bad weekend or a bad fight, they could send you down. Your contract's not guaranteed. We're on an NHL deal. It's guaranteed money at the minor league level. And, so that's kind of a big deal. I would have, you don't have a permanent residence. Your kids can't go to school. So pretty much my agent got on the phone. I proved I was healthy in camp, had a couple great fights. I had a really great camp. I did fight training 5 days a week with some of my fight coaches here in Augusta. I had 3 of them at the time. I still have one. He's one of my best friends. And, pretty much I went down the road to Bridgeport. The Islanders offered me a deal, AHL deal, and was doing well. And then when Uncle Ricky, that's what I call him, that's what we call Rick DiPietro, Uncle Ricky came down, and he seen how hard I was working. He approached me, and obviously I knew who he was. And, I was just I was kind of what I call the old gray mare. I was a high-paid babysitter protecting the young prospects for the Isles, and I love my job. I've always loved it. I'm one of the rare guys you'll talk to that absolutely loved every minute of it. I knew that's what it was going to take for me to make it, and took great pride in looking after my teammates and, fighting for the crest on the front and not the name on the back. Well, me and Ricky kind of hit it off. It's like, hey, man, you want to work out? And started working out together. And then when he went back up to the NHL, I guess he told Garth Snow about how hard I was working. And, he pretty much told Garth I was a damn beast. I was crushing guys. So I got called up just before my 31st birthday with the Islanders. They offered me a contract and went up and played a game against Philly and tried to fight their guys, and no one would fight me. But I had a pretty strong game. I played well. I had a couple big hits. And then instead of them sending me down, they kept me on the road trip so I could be, get to know my teammates and do rookie party in Florida with the whole team. And then I got sent down kind of on paper, but I was still there practicing. I couldn't play any games. And then, another month in the minors, I was just hungry. I got a taste again of the NHL, and I just was grinding. I knew I was close. And so then I got called back up, and then I stayed for, a year and a half. So, it was obviously the highlight of my career. I played the twilight in my last 3 years in Charleston, but it was the highlight of my career. I love, I bleed blue and orange. I love the fans. It was so awesome to come there recently for alumni weekend and see a bunch of my old teammates and see the new boys. And see them play, at that new barn. And we had a great time, and it was first class. The new owner's awesome, and it was very well done. So I'm still love all my fans. I talk to them on my fan page, and I'm happy to be on here with you guys.
Yeah, it's great to have you on, Trevor. And I'll tell you, one highlight for me, something I thought was really entertaining was that I remember there was a game, and I don't remember exactly which game it was, but you were on the side of the boards, and the door was open, and you were yelling.
That was the game. That was this game right here.
That was this game.
Yes, it was.
And you were yelling, and I remember the commentators were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it!" It sounded like the Hindenburg. If you would listen to the announcers, talking about the game, and it was the greatest thing.
Well,
and I had a smile.
Well, obviously we know they're homers, and that was Pittsburgh's announcer, so it is what it is. I mean.
Yeah, that was definitely.
Much what happened there, I'm not going to reveal everything, but now that I'm retired, I don't really care. So I have a sales job. We'll talk about that later. So, it doesn't really matter. But pretty much what happened was we got kind of beat up. Not physically, but on the scoreboard, we were getting pounded by Pitt all the time. We were getting pounded by the Penguins, and a fight broke up, and it was my boy again, Rick DiPietro, and he went down and he fought that big boy. I think he played for the Islanders for a bit, Johnson, and Rick got knocked out. I mean, and the way I look at it, if you've never been knocked out in your life, you're not fighting the right guys. You're a spot picker. So Rick's a smaller guy. He went out and fought him, and he got caught. Everyone, if you fight enough, or if you fight bigger dudes, you're going to get caught.
One thing about Rick, he wasn't afraid.
It's science to be knocked out. So and after that, their whole team was like laughing about it. That Fleury dude that plays in Las Vegas, and their whole team's laughing about it. And they showed it over and over and over again on SportsCenter, and it was like we were the doormat of the NHL, and they thought it was real funny. Well, let's just say we had a closed door meeting. Not going to say who was all in the meeting, but the whole team was there amongst other people, and we were pretty much told, and we decided as a team, as a brotherhood, that we weren't going to get pushed around anymore. Obviously, they knew I did my thing. Kanopka did his thing. We had a young Matt Martin doing his thing. You kind of stick to your weight class, right?
Can't forget Haley either.
Heavyweights, and it's that kind of deal. And, well, we had guys like, Como was fighting.
I remember Blake.
Young Hillen was fighting. Bailey fought. I mean, we had Hamonic fighting. I mean, we all just, kind of – if it wasn't for that shitty November we had where I don't think we won a damn game or got any points, at the end of the year, we were one of the hottest teams in the NHL. We probably would have made the playoffs. Once we kind of came together, and that was kind of our, FU game to Pitt. It was kind of what they call it, all the fans call it the retribution game. Well, that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, if it would have been a 2-1 hockey game, nothing like that happens. But, you kind of get told what to do, and you want to make NHL money, and that's your job. You go, I'm glad, no problem going out and doing my thing. So, they had a guy, Ken Grady, running around like he was the champion of the NHL, and he was a call-up. Played against him in the minors, and he didn't ever say a word to me. He was terrified. Well, I guess he thought he was a big deal because, he didn't think I was going to play very much. So he kept yapping, and he took out 2 of our guys with concussions on high hits. And, I looked down at Jack. I played for Jack Capuano in the minors. Absolutely loved the man. He had me the whole time I was in the minors in Bridgeport, and then I gave Jack a look, and he knew the look, and he just said, "Don't worry, big boy, you're going to get your chance real soon." So we kept running up the damn score, and, next thing you know, that happened, and then a bunch of other stuff happened, and, we kind of, a lot of fines happened. I lost some time. People lost some money, but ultimately we stuck up for the crest on the front, and, we started turning around. Obviously, we didn't make the playoffs or win a Stanley Cup, which is the ultimate goal, but ultimately you're playing for your brothers, and you try to win every night, and you're giving her every day, blood, sweat, and tears. And that's kind of what we did. We formed that kind of family mentality, and, the rest is history.
The team needed that then, though. They really did.
Yeah, well, listen, they were at a point in the NHL where they needed a spark. And what happens with an NHL team when they need a spark? Somebody goes out there and stirs some things up.
Role.
And that's exactly what he was brought up to do.
Now, I just want to add
I loved every minute of it. I mean, so all the fans, they were selling, Rock the Stash shirts, which was really cool, but I had that wild mustache. And so for you guys that probably don't know, and all the fans listening, I was in Bridgeport, and I had, at one point, I shaved my head for St. Baldrick's, and obviously I got called up a lot later, so the hair grew back. and then I had a mohawk, so I could kind of look like a wild man, like a biker, you know.
He did look
and I
crazy.
actually have a T-shirt out that's me like snarling in the NHL with the Islanders, and it has me with the mustache. It's called the Wild Man shirt. If anyone wants to check out our stuff, it's at www.effectiveaggression.com. Click the 3 lines on the top left of the site, and then click TG51, and you'll see all our stuff. But there's some cool stuff, so I appreciate the plug there. But you know, that mustache all started for cancer. Like me, Scott Monroe is our starting goalie in Bridgeport, and Joel Reckless. We had a bet that whoever shaved their mustache had to pay the other guy $500. And $500 isn't a lot in the NHL, but in the minors, I mean, that's like probably about 2 days' pay or a day's pay. You know what I mean? Like, so I just kept it, and then when I got called up, the fans didn't know me without it, and I told my agent, like, my wife hates this mustache. Like, I'm probably gonna shave it. And Gar Snow got word and told me, he told my agent, he's like, Gillies can't shave that. We got Rock the Stash shirts coming, and we're gonna sell mustaches at the game. And it was kind of like a throwback to the old school 80 guys. So especially with my last name, obviously I'm not related to Clark, but you know, and obviously I'm not half the player he was, but they liked seeing the Gillies name. I kind of ran around like an old school 80s, 90s player, like a total meatball, and smashed bodies, played with high energy, and was willing to fight at the drop of a hat. So, you know, it was really cool for me because I've been a career minor leaguer, and all of a sudden the Islanders fans really like that, you know, blue collar piss and vinegar mentality I have, and they started chanting my name like you know, like I was a Hall of Famer like Clark Gillies. As sure as hell was not a Hall of Famer. I only got 2 NHL goals, but I absolutely loved my time on the island. So you know, I had the wild stash, and then after, you know, I knew it was all over, then, you know, Mrs. Gills, happy wife, happy life, had to get rid of the old mustache boys.
Yeah. Hey, who were some of the players that you looked up to when you were a kid?
My all-time idol, look, I'm in my office right now in my house, but is Bob Probert. So I got a jersey autographed by Proby, says 3,300 penalty minutes on it, and then he's fighting his best friend, Joe Kosher. I also have his jersey signed to me. I got that when I was in the NHL, and he put, Gillies, so you want a shot at the title, your friend Joe Kosher. And then Scott Stevens is my favorite defenseman of all time, and I got his signed to me. I played for Marty McSorley. He was one of my idols. He protected Gretzky, obviously, and on those Oiler teams. And then, you know, when Gretzky got traded to L.A., you know, he said, like, pretty much Marty had to be in the deal.
Right.
And Marty, I still talk to Marty, phenomenal man, really helped me out as a young fighter in the American League, like when to do it, when not to do it. He would actually grapple with me. We'd be like throwing punches, just not at each other's heads, but like pretending and teaching me stuff. So, I mean, those are probably my top guys, but pretty much I love all the old 80s and 90s guys. Obviously, with those names I'm mentioning to you, you can kind of tell why I like to be so physical. Yeah, I would have loved to have scored, you know, 20 goals a year and probably would have made a ton of money. But ultimately, like the job I got to do, I got to live out my boyhood dream and got very blessed to play a little boys and girls game for 19 years professional. Yeah, it wasn't all at the NHL level, but I still got to live the dream for a very long time. And, you know, those are kind of the guys that paved the way, and that's just how I wanted to play.
So I just wanted to add in, before that game with Pittsburgh, the game before, another big issue, it wasn't just DiPietro going down. Talbot took a run at Blake Como and gave him concussion, which was part of the issue. And
yeah, there was a bunch of stuff. I mean, you know, they were a really good hockey team.
And they just won the Stanley Cup, the year before? Mm-hmm. So they were no joke. And people overlook the fact you guys won that game 9-3. It wasn't like you were getting your ass kicked and you just started to fight. You were winning that game in every aspect, and you specifically were looked at as a bad guy from everybody. But people forget Eric Goddard left the bench to be the third man in when Haley was fighting the goalie.
To be fair, like I absolutely like Goddard. I don't.
It's the same way. He's that kind of a player. He just accelerates.
My little brother was a lot better hockey player than me. He's like 5'9", a little truck, and he could score goals. He scored like 20 a year in the minors, kind of deal. And when he got called up to Bridgeport back in the day, I was on another team in the American League. I bounced around a lot, you know, just trying to go where an opportunity is and take the most money you can get type deal, you know, and trying to feed a family. But Goddard was the absolute best dude to my brother on that whole team. So we had fought after that, but we fought many times, and he's a very, very tough dude. So
yeah, I'm a fan of his too.
We just kind of paired off, you know. That's kind of our job. You know, we kind of set the tone early in the game, get it out of the way, get the nerves out of the way. Then you can kind of focus on playing some hockey, giving the team some life with banging some bodies, and if you guys two big warships go at it at the beginning of the game, it kind of lets everyone know, like, hey, we better keep the seas calm here. We've got one of these mutants coming after us. Like that's gone in today's game, but it's an ultimate deterrent. Having someone that is not afraid to go out and take a run at you or drop the mitts with you. I feel it's a shame that it's a dead breed. At least for the heavyweights. I mean, there's other guys like Matt Martin's a buddy of mine. I love him. I absolutely love the kid. Played together in the minors. He's one of the best hitters in the NHL. And, he can chuck them, and he's just a great dude. And there's still some guys that I really like in the league. Like this Reeves dude's cool. I like the way he plays. A lot of people probably don't like the Wilson, but I like the way he plays. I like Clifford. He's from my hometown. He's a younger guy, Kyle Clifford. I mean, there's a lot of guys like that kind of still old school mentality that play the game, in my opinion, the right way. Like heart and balls, and that's what I'm all about. So I'm glad. I mean, I could care less what anyone thinks of me. I got very close family and a lot of friends that know me as the man I am. And, the first thing that's important to me is being a good father and a good husband and just being a good human being. My whole perspective on life every single day is just trying to be Trevor Gillies, just trying to be 0.5% better every day. It's a very tough thing to do. You fail a lot, but that's all I'm trying to be be a good human and help as many people as I can. And whether that's young hockey players, that's why I played so long, or kids, or, cancer kids, whatever it is. I mean, it's just, we're blessed to be alive, and I was blessed to live out my boyhood dream, and I'm glad the Islander fans still love me. I still talk to tons of them online. Got a really nice ovation when we had the alumni thing. So, no, I love Long Island. I actually work for a company in Long Island called Merchant Pro Express. I do credit card processing, merchant services. We'll process over $8 billion this year, and it's going extremely well. And I save businesses, blue-collar, business-to-business, charities, nonprofits, a bunch of money on their rate/fee. So I actually work for a company in Long Island. I got to come there for a pink tie. I got to come again recently for the alumni weekend. So absolutely love the island, and obviously working for that company, which is what I plan on doing the rest of my life. I'll be coming to Long Island a lot. So
that's great. You could literally take Trevor and put him in 1970s and the
he
early
would have been a
80s.
hero. He would be a hero. I mean, not that he wasn't, but he would have had a much longer NHL career back in that time.
Absolutely. I was actually gonna say. Amazing. How tall are you, Trevor? What is your size? Your weight and how tall are you?
Well, right now I'm a little heavy, but no, I go to the gym every day, boys. I mean, I did 4 rounds on the mitts today with my fight guys, one of my very best friends, and then we went and beat some abs and some arms. Tomorrow we're gonna do we're gonna try to build it up. I just started getting back into the boxing stuff and the MMA. We're throwing kicks, we're throwing elbows and knees, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of fun, keeps you sharp instead of sitting on a treadmill or something like that for an hour. It's painful. So, I still like to stay sharp every day, and I go every morning, and then I come home and I work from home. But I'm 6'3" right now and 245. I'd like to get that
6'3",
down to about 235, 238. When I played in the NHL, I was like 228 to 232. So obviously with age, I don't skate every day now that I'm retired. I just retired this past May. My last year playing was last year, so I'm a little heavier than normal, but it's just thicker. I lift heavy. I'm not burning 1,000 calories in every practice. You know what I mean? Like, so I've had to curb my diet a little bit now that I'm not playing. Just eat a lot of like fish, chicken, meat, vegetables, and some good fats like nuts and stuff like that, avocados. And I mean, I'm pretty clean living, but just like anyone else, I like to tie it on with my friends and family on the weekend. I'm pretty normal. I'm a pretty normal guy, boys. I'm probably just like you, honestly. Except you got a cool job. You get to like shoot the shit with people on the air.
It is fun. I wanted to say too, going along the line what I felt you were unfairly targeted. When you came, I believe it was the first game you came back from that suspension. Another fan favorite from the Islanders at one point, Clutterbuck took a run at I forget who it was, boarded him, and then you hit Clutterbuck.
His name
somehow
was
he gets suspended again for 10 games.
And he had just gotten called up. He's a young kid, buddy of mine from the minors, and he hit Debo from behind. Hey, no hard feelings. I mean, with Clutterbuck, it is what it is. He's gone on, and I like watching him play. Honestly, he bangs bodies. He's a good penalty killer. I like the way he plays. And unfortunately, I don't think he's allowed to have the wild mustache or facial hair that he's kind of known for now with Big Lou. No one if you notice, no one has facial hair. It's kind of all business mentality, which is good as well. So I think the people they have in place, the Islanders are looking at a very bright future. I was very impressed with a lot of the young players that I got to see live. I mean, obviously watching on TV is cool and all, but seeing it live is a whole other animal. So
you feel the energy there is very different being live at a game.
Yeah, I mean, and you were talking about my thing. I mean, it is what it is. When that happened, obviously I was a target. When we broke down the video with Mr. Colin Campbell, my agent was there, me, and we told him to stop, and he tried to let it go a little longer. So if you actually slowed that hit down, I don't hit him from behind. I hit him from the side. To be honest, I did follow through with what I call a little sweet chin music, little left-hand glove push on his face after, he just hit that young kid from behind. But it is what it is, man. I had a target on my back there, and
I have that clip.
Smartest thing, but to be honest, that isn't how I play. Like, the way guys like me play, you're riding a line all the time, and you could teeter one way or the other at any time. And so the key is managing that line, riding that line to be effective. And I wouldn't take it back at all. Like, I've always taken great pride in doing whatever it takes for my team. And if it costs me money or it gives me a suspension, that's fine. We have a bunch of other young kids that can go in as well, So, I don't regret it at all. It is what it is. And, that one there cost me 64 G's, and I was making league minimum at, I think, like, what was it, 600,000 or whatever it was at the time. So, it is what it is. But, that's just a game, man. I'm the type of guy, like, I fought 6 of my 8 groomsmen. Like, I have no ill will. Like, these are my best friends, and I hug and kiss their wives and kids. We hang out in the summers, and then when it's time to go to war in the game, we put our friendship aside, we square off, and we go at it. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just how we are. And, it does sound a little weird, but, I mean, that's how we made our living. And, Jeremy Yablonski is one of my very best friends. We fought each other a bunch. Like, I mean, there's a ton of guys. I fought 6 of my 8 groomsmen, so...
I think people overlook that because fighters in general have that camaraderie.
That's what I think was wrong with the NHL. Is like, you had these huge dudes that were way bigger than me. They stopped enforcing because they were scared to do something where I was not. And there's certain other guys that were not, and that's what they call the repeat offender or whatever they call it. So, pretty much, there's so many guys in the minors that would have just done the job. So what happened was you have these 2 big dudes, and they tap each other on the shin pad and go, "Well, hey, buddy, we all know each other. It's a small fraternity. We might not be best friends, but we all know who each other are." So you're like, hey, just say it's Goddard. Like, "Hey, Goddard, you want to go?" And he'll be like, "Yep, right off the draw. This is how it works." We're like calm. He's like, we're a little wired up on whatever, like coffees or whatever. And he'll be like, "Yep, right off the draw." He goes, "Square off," and I'm like, "Yep, square off, of course." And then that's how it works. And then we just fight. Like, and then after it's like, "Great job. Good job, man." Like, that's kind of how it is, You're going to war for your teammates and the fans. And
you guys are keeping it classy.
I have nothing wrong with it. I mean, honestly, that's what I miss about the game. I miss the brotherhood in the room, playing schnarples and cards on the plane or the bus, and all that guy time when you're done is kind of gone. You're just hanging out with your regular buddies and homies. So like, all that kind of brotherhood stuff, like going to war, bag skates, all that like stuff, once it's over, it's over. So, and I miss fighting. I mean, I love the physicality. I miss hitting. I miss getting hit. I mean, it's a very humbling job. I mean, punches aren't vitamins. So unless you're sharp, I mean, you could get caught at any time. And, it always keeps you just like very humble, You got to constantly be working at it. And obviously our type of players are, they're not in the league anymore, but we're not the best players. So you constantly were having to like, reinvent yourself, working on your skills every day with a skills coach. Like there's so much that goes into it, as well as, having to go out and fight these behemoth gorillas on the other team. But I loved every second of it. I have 0 regrets. And if I could do it all over again today, I would.
Actually, we have a listener question. Speaking of tough guys, Will wants to know the toughest guy you ever faced.
Well,
That's got to be tough to choose.
I don't know. I've had 400 fights. That's a great question. I get it all the time, and I'd have to. The only man to ever knock me out was Derek Bugard in my life, like street or ice, and he's just so big, like just so long. I mean, if you're not inside on him, you're going to be swinging out air. So he caught me with a good one. I couldn't even tell you if the punch was hard, boys. Like, he hit me with that uppercut, and I don't remember a couple minutes of my life. Like, I went into the room, got the sniffers going. I remember Kip Brennan and Todd Fedoruk were there. They're like, Gillies, you all right? Because, they got kind of crushed, too. And I'm buddies with Kippy Brennan. He used to play for the Isles a bit, too. And then I started doing the sniffer, went to the cold tub, and, just started splashing the ice water on my neck. And by the time the doctors came down, I was already good. And your adrenaline is just going so much. It's an NHL game. You just had to fight with the biggest dude in the league. So, but they got me to do all these tests, and concussion protocol was pretty lax back then. And I don't know, it was like 05 or something. So stand on one leg, how many fingers, that kind of stuff, touch your nose, touch his hand, just all these different tests. And I dominated him. So I got to go back out on the ice. And I tried, what people don't know is I tried to fight him again that game. I went back out, was running around. I didn't play a lot. I think I got 2 minutes and 40-something seconds of ice time or something. I tried to fight him again, and I'm very thankful that he didn't fight me, because he probably would have killed me. Because I did have once the adrenaline wore off, I had a concussion.
Oh, wow.
So, but no, may he rest in peace. I met his brother in the minors, really good dude. And, because of guys like him, and he just was so big and strong, and that he could really hit. And, he created good jobs for a lot of guys for a long time, because you had to have someone to go up against, like those guys, like Bugard. And there's a bunch of different names we could name drop. But I'd have to give it to him. Yablonski's super tough. He's one of my very best friends. He won Golden Gloves 6 times in a row. He has 2 MMA heavyweight belts in the minors. A guy by the name of Mad Mal Engelstadt gave me my shot. When I got called to the AHL, we had a couple good ones. Steve McLaren was super tough. Pretty much if you make it to the AHL or the NHL as a fighter, you're nails, and you got all my respect, because you're willing to do the hardest job in pro sports, for the family, for the brotherhood. So you don't make it to those 2 levels unless you're legit tough.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I'd say all of them are tough. There's never an easy fight in the heavyweight division.
It's funny listening to him. I don't know, going back to the earlier Islanders, there were 2 enforcers, actually. Not only Trevor Gillies, you had Clark Gillies,
right,
but you also had, and that's why I asked him, is Trevor his size, you had Gary Howitt.
Right.
Which Gary Howitt.
I love watching him. He's one of my guys I studied. He's a little dude, and he was an absolute animal.
And he fought everybody. It was he was an amazing
animal. I'm a huge fan of him. I've watched all his old school tapes, and I collect all that stuff, boys. I'm a huge fan of that side of the game. If you couldn't tell by the way I play it, I love it. So I have tons of old DVDs, and I used to have the VHS tapes, and then there was a lady that I met here in town that could take the old VHSs and put them on DVD. So I have a pretty wild collection.
You have the fight.
I have all the Clark Gillies stuff. I have Garth Snow's fight. Pretty much I have all of Bobby Nyes. I got tapes of all these guys. Legendary stuff. I got to hang out with Ken Baumgartner for the alumni weekend. It was me, Konopka, and Justin Johnson's a buddy of mine. He's the guy that got a couple games with the Isles and dropped John Scott. He's a good buddy of mine. He works for Stryker. He sells anchors and pins and stuff like that for surgeries, medical devices. So it was me, Konopka, and JJ just crushing drinks with the bomber. This guy's a legend. Love him. I got Mick Vakota's jersey signed right here, boys. I got to tell you about
Vakota rocks.
I've met him several times. Great guy.
Vakota's awesome. Great dude. So he put... It's in a frame and everything in my office. You put 2 gills. When good do the dirty work, good guys win. Mick Vakota. I'm a huge fan. I got Mark. Even though he's in a Rangers jersey, and they're the enemy, and we're all Islanders. But when he won the cup, my brother-in-law got this in a silent auction for cancer, and it's Mark Messier holding the cup. And then I got a picture below with me, him, and my daughter when she was a baby. And then I got Wayne up there in the Oilers. I'm a huge hockey guy. You know what I mean? I love the game, and I love the guys that played it tough.
one of the craziest fights I ever saw, and you probably, being a fan, you probably may have even seen this in the videotape somewhere. Terry O'Reilly fights Gary Howard, Bobby Nystrom, and Clark Gillies all in the same game. It was like the craziest, and then he was finally ejected after his third fight.
Yeah.
Talk about
So
it.
that's pretty cool. You said that. Yeah, he had a pretty tough night there fighting those three guys. But no, I have Terry O'Reilly's autograph right here. It's an old black and white picture of him fighting. And there's a girl in town here, I live in Augusta, Georgia, boys, where the Masters is. I live in Evans, the nice part, and there's a girl in town here that is Terry O'Reilly's daughter, and she never found out till later in life, but they have a relationship now. So they obviously, I'm the only guy here that, there's other pros that played pro here that played in the minors and stuff, but I'm the only guy that got fortunate to play in the NHL, and I'm the one that's the fighter. So, my friend told, it's her girlfriend that's her father. So wrote up a real cool thing to me. So I got Terry O'Reilly, said I need to get a frame for that and put it on the wall too. So I got a bunch of guys. I got like a stack of them, and just I just got my favorites up right now.
Yeah, I got Will's just naming some of the old fighters. Eric Cairns was another good fighter.
Yeah, I got Kenzie's cell on my phone. I mean, we talked a couple of weeks ago, right before the Islanders alumni thing. I was hoping he was there so we could go grab some beers and dinner. But just a great dude. So here's a story about Cairnsey. So my rookie year pro in 1999, 2000, he was I think he was with the Isles. And he got sent. He was in Lowell. He had the big leather straps, monster defenseman, super tough, old school player. I loved the way he played. And I was a defenseman at the time too. Obviously, I signed an AHL deal with Lowell that year, but they ended up having Cairns. And they also got this guy by the name of Bill Heward sent down. He was with LA because Lowell Lock Monsters, they were called. They were a split affiliate with the Islanders and the LA Kings. So Cairnsey was like super awesome to me. And he ended up going up to the NHL that year, and then I ended up getting called up and having some games. But in training camp, he fought another guy that I know. What's his name? I can't think of the name, but he's a career minor league guy that was nails. And he challenged Cairnsey, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good one, two big boys. And I was a kid. I was only 20 years old. My first exhibition game when Cairnsey was there, I had 3 fights in my first exhibition game. So we kind of hit it off, and it was great later on that when I did get called up to the, to the Islanders, he was like, one of the guys for player development. So I got to see him all the time, and just a great human being. And, I'm happy to call him a friend.
You brought up something really interesting before. You said that you still train, you still fight in the gym, you still box, you still train MMA. Now, I used to
I'm not getting hit. I'm not getting hit in the head anymore. Like I don't do sparring or nothing like that. I just do it to stay sharp, and it's just the best workout there is. I mean, regardless if you're a little girl, a little boy, your wife. I mean, anybody. I mean, it's just a phenomenal workout. I mean, you're soaked. He's
100% correct.
Right.
Yeah, when I got to
you're
Vegas,
you're dead after. So like, yeah, I still like to do it. It's not a whole lot of fun just going on the. Like walking or running or doing the, I like this arc machine. I like this other one. It's called Jacob's Ladder. All the Navy SEALs do it, and Spec Ops guys. That's a tough one. So there's certain machines that I will do. The revolving staircase is pretty tough, but like just going for a cruise on the elliptical, I mean, I feel like it's just a waste of time.
Yeah,
so,
because,
I feel. Go ahead,
Trevor. No, it's funny, and I'm kind of surprised because a lot. I covered the sport of mixed martial arts, and a lot of the guys in the UFC, not a lot. I mean, there's a number of them that are actually ex-football players. You have Herschel Walker. There's a bunch of guys that are ex-wrestlers.
Right.
And I was always surprised that there weren't ex-hockey players.
I was actually going to ask that question
And
tonight.
I was going to say, I'm surprised that you never trained to just try to maybe kind of break into the sport.
Well, I was too old, so it's just like hockey, right? If you all of a sudden decide and you're like, 22 and you're like, well, I'm going to train real hard and I'm going to make it to the NHL. You have no chance. Like, all respect to that one football dude that just said that he thinks he can make the NHL in 6 months. I watch his videos. He can't even shoot the puck. Let alone skate. So, there's a reason why they call it the lion's den in any sport. Like, you'd have to be a fool to jump into something unless you're like some of those guys that in the NFL that are actually in the UFC. Like they've worked really hard. They've hired the right people. and they actually are doing very well. So I know some of the people you're talking about. But for me personally, after all the trauma and fights I've already had, and I have a wife and 2 beautiful kids. My son's in college, and my daughter is 11 years old and 5'5". So, you know, when I just decided I was going to play hockey as long as I could, and I did. And you know, unfortunately, the body was barking at me for years before I retired, but I just loved it that much, and you know, wanted to help the community in Charleston and help guys get to the next level. And we had a great team. We were first place, made it to the finals and the semifinals 2 out of the 3 years I was there. So it was just a blast. And I didn't have any more guys like Bugard and those boys, like, you know, that were a real threat. So I got to like actually enjoy the game. I had some tough fights of some young guys that were hungry, and had a couple good ones last year. I had 6 last year in 20 games, and then I got a concussion from hitting a guy. So after that, I kind of had to call it. You know what I mean? I've totally recovered. I live a normal life, and, you know, eat good, sleep good, and train every day, you know, just for health, really. And, yeah, no, it's a blessed life. I did it as long as I could, and I have no regrets. And, you know, but I do love it. I wish I could have. I probably should have just tried to do that, but MMA wasn't huge when I was a kid. I mean, I'm from Canada, so, like, the dream is to play in the NHL, and fortunately I got to live that out.
That's amazing. Yeah, how old are you now, Trevor?
I'll be 40 in January, boy.
Well, I don't know if you just saw the fight this last weekend. You had Chuck Liddell fighting
48
Tito Ortiz.
versus 43.
Yeah, so anything's possible.
Yeah, but, yeah, listen, I mean, like, my wife, she already told, like, I get recruited by some cops here in town that I know, and they want me to be on one of their teams. And I kind of like thought it would be cool. You know, I've kind of always been the policeman on the ice, and, you know, I'm in shape. Like, that's all I'd have to do is, like, you know, learn how to shoot properly and, you know, take the course and kind of study it up, and that'd be fine. But she's not having, I can't put myself, same with firemen. I come from a family of first responders, love firemen. And she won't let me do that either. Like, my days of putting myself in danger are over, fellas. Like, I got a cell phone in my hand, and I'm going to save people money. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, and I'm sending emails, and I'm meeting with people. Like, that's as stressful as it gets, besides hitting the hand pads and lifting weights. Like,
Hey.
Happy wife, happy life. Marty McSorley taught me a long time ago, happy wife, happy life. So,
unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap things up, but I do want to ask you one more question. I know, you know, a lot of your career was fighting, but what was it like to score a goal in the NHL?
I mean, it was an absolute blast. I have a picture right here. So when you get it, I mean, obviously the guys that get a lot of points, I mean, they still get their first one. So, you know, my first NHL assist right here above my desk, I'm going down the bench, and it was against the Leafs. And it was assisted by Jackman and Park. We ended up, we won the game 4-1. And so that was my first assist in the NHL, and they make you up like a sick thing. Like, they've got the picture, the game sheet, all the guys' names. It's got the puck. It's all very well done. And then I got one the next year for my first goal as well, and then the picture's over there as well. So it's me and one of my best buddies in the game is Zenon Konopka. He's just a beauty, just a warrior. I could get him on your show too if you wanted.
Sure.
And you should see his face going down the line. I'm kind of still like, you can tell I'm fired up, but I got that mustache, so I kind of look mean, and I'm not really smiling. I'm just like kind of yelling at the boys, like, let's go, you know. And his face is like the best. It's the best. Like, he's more happy than me that I scored. So no, it's an awesome feeling, you know. You know, yeah, the fights are great, and that's obviously one of the reasons why I was there. Especially probably the main reason. But you know, no one can take those few points away that I got. I mean,
definitely not.
Tons of guys get a chance to play in the NHL, but they don't always get to score or get an assist or anything like that. So, no, it was a blast, man. And you know, I'll always bleed blue and orange, and I'll always be coming back. And I'm gonna try to come to this thing every year that they keep it going, this alumni thing. So maybe we can meet, boys, and have some beers.
That would be great.
That would be great.
So one more time, plug yourself, what you're doing now, and how people can get in touch with you.
So anyone can hit me up on instant message. I have Trevor Gillies Facebook. You can hit me up on there. Instant message me if you own any companies that are blue collar, you know, trucking, towing, trash recycling, roll-off containers, anything B2B, business to business, lumber yards, anything like that. We guarantee savings. The savings can be very substantial, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I promise I'll help you out. So what I do is I lower your rate/fees. We don't have extra fees with my company. And, yeah, it's going great. I enjoy the challenge, and I got a great team of ex-athletes. A lot of them are ex-basketball players, and we got a bunch of ex-hockey players. And, yeah, we're a big company right out of Long Island called Merchant Pro Express. You can check out our website at www.merchantproexpress.com. And just hit me up on Instagram, @TG51Wildman, or I have another one, Trevor Gillies, or you can add me on Trevor Gillies on Facebook. And then I also have a little clothing line with
Awesome.
Awesome. Here's a clothing line?
Yeah. Did we lose you?
I think we might have lost Trevor. Oh. Maybe Trevor. I think we might have lost him.
I might have lost him, but what
But
a
it was
great guy,
great to have. It was great to have him on the air. And I would love to talk to some of the other ex-Islanders and some of those players that he knows, because they have some great stories.
And you know too from doing the MMA show and being around, the tough guys, the mean guys, they're the nicest people when you meet them.
Well, yeah.
They
Well,
really
he brought up a good point as far as how these guys talk to each other on and off the ice. And what they say is they leave it on the ice because they're professionals.
Right.
A lot of people don't know, like the professional wrestlers, they used to go out and put on this whole show, but after the shows, they were really good
drinking
friends.
together,
they were drinking together, having things. And that's the thing, they always keep it classy, even when they're fighting.
But I think part of it also is that, like, people build up aggression all day and don't do anything with it. These guys get to fight, so they get to release their aggression. So because I'm just even talking about from a fan standpoint, I've met a lot of athletes before. The nicest were always the fighters.
Yeah, well, that's because they know how to shake hands afterwards and hang out with the fans. But yeah, they're always, listen. Hockey players in general are always really classy, friendly guys.
Right.
And so it's great to talk to a guy like Trevor, man, and hear that he's doing well and hear all these old great stories.
I did have a clip I wanted to show while he was on. Can we run that clip now? And this just goes to show what he did and what the job of the enforcer was. And it's funny because when you watch the Islander take of it, they show the whole video and they show the replay. Everybody else just shows his hit and showed how dirty he was, why he needed a 10-game suspension. But here we go.
It's the same way. He's that kind of a player. He just accelerates. Trevor Gillies threw one to the net that hit a leg, and there's going to be a penalty here as Clutterbuck is down, as is DiBenedetto. Trevor Gillies immediately being pulled away from the pack by both referees initially.
This is the play along the boards. Oh, excuse me, that's Clutterbuck on the hit from behind, and then Gillies comes on and retaliates.
It was on DiBenedetto.
Yeah, there's the hit from behind. He lets up a little bit, and then Gillies just goes in and hits him. I'm not sure what Gillies did wrong.
So as you see, his guy got hurt. He hit the guy right back. It was a cheap shot. It happens. It happens in the sport, whether Clutterbuck did it intentionally or not. I'm not saying he did. And, of course, I was a fan of Clutterbuck's too. But your job as the enforcer is to make sure your teammates don't get hurt.
Right.
And if they do, you hurt that guy to make him think twice about maybe doing it again. And that's what he did. And he got 10 games for that. And that was pretty much the end.
That was the NHL probably sending a message that they were trying to phase that out, maybe that aspect of the game out.
Right.
Which, listen.
But guys like Goddard and stuff like that still had a career because he came to the Islanders after the fact, and I believe he was on after.
Some of the guys I think that also were true goal scorers as well.
Yeah, because
so I think
even
if they
the
wanted to be
Tridomi,
an enforcer, I think if you had to be an enforcer, you had to be, putting numbers up as well. So maybe that was just something they didn't want that aspect of the game without it coming with goals as well.
Because it's funny because I brought up Tridomi because he was one of the toughest bastards out there too. And he was known for being a dirty player and this, that, and the other thing. If he was out there, you're going to fight. But then when the enforcer role started getting lessening, when he was on Toronto that year in the playoffs, he was actually leading the team in points.
No, that's what I mean, yeah. So those
enforcers never, well, Clark Gillies might have been the exception because he had his share of goals. He had like 360 goals, I think, in his career, which he wasn't an enforcer. He just happened to be able to fight.
He was just a tough guy.
That was a tough team. It was a different
tough guy
time.
who could score goals.
Right.
So if you could pair those two up, I think that you could definitely have longevity in the NHL.
Yeah.
But listen, he brought a great thing to the game. Trevor was really, he was at a perfect time for the Islanders and in that period of time that he was playing.
No, well, I'm saying Gillies didn't board him. Clutterbuck boarded, and then Gillies had him back. But yeah, if you watch the other side of that, they only show the Gillies hit, and talking about how he was no good for the sport and he was just out there to hurt people. And he wasn't. He was there to protect his team. That's basically the point.
Right, and I think that was the perception of the NHL.
Right.
And I think he was a target at that point, and I think he was basically the guy that they were going to target and send a message
Right.
to a lot of the other guys in the NHL.
Because they knew he wasn't a goal scorer. And
Exactly.
He really had nothing else to offer except protection.
Yeah.
Which, again, wasn't really fair because the Islanders needed all the protection they could get at that point. And to go to maybe I take it personally as an Islander fan, but to pinpoint that team when there were other guys out there doing similar things, I just didn't.
There's
find
hypocrisy everywhere you go.
It's true.
It's the direction that the NHL wanted themselves to go in. All right, at that time too, I think viewership was starting to really wane at that point.
Right.
When we look back at the NHL, probably what would you consider the height of NHL's popularity?
I would say probably the 80s.
No, I would say the 90s. I would say when. And
all right, you know what?
Because
Pavel Bure, Timo Solani, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm being partial
Because those are our favorite times for hockey.
Like, it was real tough going to a game
exactly.
in the 90s.
But
actually, yeah, you're right. Because I take that back. The Rangers, Devils, playoff series.
That was.
I don't care if you hated both those teams. That was amazing hockey.
94. Whether you love them or hate them, I know the Islanders were a dynasty, but you have to give the Rangers credit. They were playing in the Mecca, right in Madison Square Garden. In '94, that was the highlight. I mean, that was literally.
As a matter of fact, their only easy series was the Islanders.
The NHL shot themselves in the foot when they had the
lockout
season,
right.
the season after, which is where the Devils basically took the torch after that, and basically showed what true champions they were. Because, and they went on to win how many Stanley
You're right,
Cups.
though, because, all right, the Islander Rangers series in the first round was garbage. I mean, the Islanders had no fight left in them at that point.
They came off an amazing
93
season.
was really good.
92, 93.
Right.
They went in and beat the Pittsburgh Penguins, who had just won 2 Stanley Cups, and beat them in 7 games off of that Volek goal in overtime.
Right.
Which was an amazing thing. So everybody thought the next year they were going to come in and they were going to dominate in the league. And I think Hextall came in and he was a goaltender. And then, of course, Healy went to the New York Rangers, ironically.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, he really had a career season with the Islanders that year. And he went in, and Mike Richter, though, stood on his head and really did what a championship goaltender should have done.
Yes. He's the reason why. If you had to pick one guy, he was the reason why they won. Richter was just unbeatable that year.
Well, they had amazing defense.
They had the whole package.
I'm not going to take. They had everything. And
they had the whole package.
They had half the Oilers.
But I'm just saying, if you had to pick one guy, he's the guy I would pick.
Yeah, no. Listen, it's funny. I've told you, I've run into Kenny Morrow a few times, and I always say it to him every time. I said, listen, the one thing every Stanley Cup team, what's the one thing they all share in common? You have to have great goaltending. You have to have a goaltender who's having career seasons, or he's just consistently an amazing goaltender. Without that, I don't care how good your offense is. That's what creates a championship team. Right. You have to have those players in place.
I'm going to stop you right there because we are really running out of time. Plug whatever you want. I know you had some big news coming up. So
yeah, well, we have a lot of Billy Mira and the Hitmen have a lot of big shows coming up in 2019. But something that I do want to plug right now is every week I'm at the Polo Lounge inside Westbury Manor. It's the coolest room on Long Island. It's like nothing else out there right now. It's sophistication, it's swag, it's everything, and it allows me, with a piano player, to do everything I do in the big show, but in a small setting.
Okay.
And a true supper club environment. I mean, just amazing food, amazing drinks, amazing people. Come down and visit us. I'm there every Tuesday night. I'm also there on New Year's Eve this year. So Polo Lounge inside the Westbury Manor, amazing place.
Need reservations, or how does that work?
Yeah, a lot of people do call for reservations in advance. But Francesco, who is the host there, he takes care of everybody if they come in, and he'll take care of you. Make sure you get a seat.
All right, sounds good. Anything else you want to push?
That's it. Billy Mira and the Hitman, be aware of us in 2019. I do have a big show announcement coming up very shortly.
Well, we'll have to have you back on where it's all devoted to you.
And it shows me actually getting back together with some of my ex-personnel, Howard Stern friends, and which we will talk about at a later time. Once everything's solidified and contracts are in writing, and that's coming up very shortly as well.
All right, and this Saturday you can see me at the Gateway Comedy Club once again. Last week worked out very well, so I'm hoping this
How's
week
your comedy career going?
It's actually, I got to tell you,
I'm very proud of you.
You got to see the difference from the last time you saw me.
Right.
I've between working with Paul Bond and stuff like that, I've felt personally like I've grown a lot. But having someone saw me over the summer and they just saw me recently, like, wow, you're so much different. So you got to see me again.
All right.
You got to give me another shot because I was a little off that night.
Support this guy, people.
But and I'm also doing a charity event Sunday, December 9th at Coasters. Don't want to announce too much of it yet because I don't know exactly what the lineup's going to be. But I know Mike Keegan and Rich Walker are going to be part of it as well.
All right.
So. Next week, another friend of yours, Chris Roach, will be on the show. He's going to be calling in.
Straight from Kevin Can Wait.
And, donate for Alex. V, if you want to put something in the comments real quick, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again for
no problem.
helping me out.
Anytime.